dogs and those fried Twinkies. We've been counting down the days. The Nebraska State Fair is almost here. And a Sumner area farm sees a slithering surprise. Later, a public utility with lots of irrigation customers faces scrutiny. Plus, we celebrate a small town kid with big hair. It's time to grow. Welcome to Grow. Here in the epicenter of white corn production, corn growers say it's time to send a strong signal to Mexico. The Office of the U.S. Trade Representative announcing it has formally requested the formation of a dispute resolution panel under the USMCA trade deal for Mexico regarding their refusal to take white corn from the U.S. Senator Deb Fischer saying the panel of trade experts will decide whether Mexico's ban on GMO corn is consistent with the USMCA agreement, and its findings will be binding. Fischer going on to say there has been zero compromise with Mexico on this issue, one that hits close to home for a lot of farmers here in the Cornhusker State. In other news, Fischer recently announced funds to help rural Nebraska close the broadband gap. $405 million is headed to Nebraska to expand broadband. While many see that as a good step, it remains to be seen how far that will go.
And so it's literally measuring inside that room,
checking pigs,
what the sensors are picking up for a cough.
The way you might check Facebook. Aaron Cavan has sensors in his hog barns that pick up a cough so he can alert the vet in a state with a shortage.
We're able to help the veterinarians out and they can know where they need to be and allot their priorities.
Most of his crop fields have internet connections nearby.
Some of the livestock facilities, it starts to get a lot more questionable in what we have available for those.
Senator Deb Fischer recently announced $405 million to expand broadband. Money Farm Bureau appreciates as an important step.
It's a lot of money, but actually when you look at inflation and the cost of doing the work of broadband, it's not going to go as far as we hope. So we're really concerned about or talking about how do we make sure it gets distributed right.
As policymakers gather in Geneva, they hear how farmers depend on high-speed internet and have concerns about where dollars go.
And it gets distributed to areas that really need it, and that's a pretty long list in Nebraska.
The state has created a broadband office answerable to the governor to oversee efforts.
And really, quite frankly, it's a lot bigger job than it used to be, especially with all these federal dollars coming in.
A role remains for the Public Service Commission.
We connect grants to providers that are going to be doing the building and getting the fiber connected to homes and businesses.
And specifically to farmers like Aaron for precision agriculture.
We just want to make sure that we have a good, reliable, and affordable connection.
What's critical, farmers say, is not just getting internet to the farm, but delivering it to the last acre. A public power district serving rural customers, including many irrigators in the heart of corn country, has a new CEO. But questions linger about the process to select him.
Well, here's our incoming CEO, Chad Waldo.
As Chad Waldo enters the boardroom as the new CEO of Southern Public Power District, he's reached the top of the ladder, but began on a humbler rung as a lineman at another public utility.
I can talk the talk with the linemen, and that, I think that relates. I've been on call, I've been on storm jobs and things like that.
Southern's elected board says Waldo checks all the boxes. 30 years of experience in public power with extensive management experience and a background in agriculture.
I appreciate what the farmers do every day, and we just have to look at all our customers. We're here to serve the end user. That's what we're here for.
Waldo will succeed the retiring Neil Needfelt. Board members say they hired a search firm that considered candidates nationwide before narrowing the pool to 12. A handful of board members made up a search committee that kept their choice close.
5 of us on the search committee, and then today was the first day the whole board knew the name of the new CEO.
So 9 members didn't know the name of their choice until this meeting and didn't even know the names of the other candidates. You're not going to be releasing the names of the finalists, is that right?
That's right, just for courtesy for the candidates.
Meyer says they're looking out for candidates who may not want their current employer to know they were job hunting. While that may protect applicants, Common Cause Nebraska questions who's protecting the public.
the public also has a right to know. I mean, who have we hired and what have they done and where are they from? I mean, those are real questions that the public has a right to know. And this is a public entity, not a private corporation.
It's a concern shared by a former employee of Southern Power. He filed an open records request to get the names of the 4 final candidates.
Some of the requests seem kind of trivial. We're not sure what his goal is. But yeah, I have every confidence that we're handling it the right way.
The former employee says it's far from trivial, arguing it's basic information for the public to know who the finalists were. The board went into executive session to discuss the request for information on the finalists, which was then denied. Additionally, board members say they promised confidentiality to all involved.
This non-disclosure agreement thing, can you explain how that was used in the process?
The search firm that we hired asked all of us to do a confidentiality statement along with the candidates, just again for their safety and maybe embarrassment. So we stuck to that.
While some elected boards hold listening sessions or present their candidates in front of employees or stakeholders, Meyer says they felt it best to keep the decision among the search committee. The board voted unanimously to approve Waldo, who plans to start in October.
He feels like one of us. He'll fit right in.
Southern has a multi-million-dollar budget serving customers in 7 counties. Not a single one of those customers was present at Friday's meeting. The board president telling us no one ever shows up to complain. Two Rivers Public Health Department says a Dawson County horse has tested positive for the West Nile virus. The health department says horse owners should work with their veterinarian to protect their horse against the virus. All horses should be vaccinated against the virus once a year. Those who have never been vaccinated before will also need to get a booster to be fully protected. Owners can also practice good mosquito control by removing standing water, cleaning water troughs regularly, using mosquito repellents, and bringing horses inside at dawn and dusk during those mosquito feeding periods. Humans and horses cannot spread the disease to each other, but it can be transmitted to humans and horses through mosquito bites. A Kearney grain company hit with a $24,000 fine from the Nebraska Public Service Commission. The PSC says the Andersons Incorporated of Kearney stored grain in an unlicensed facility in Paxton. That would violate the state's Grain Warehouse Act. The inspection of the facility happened in July of 2022, followed by a hearing in June of this year where the Public Service Commission says the Andersons stored grain in 6 grain bins not listed on the company's grain warehouse license. The company has 30 days to pay the fine or appeal the order. You could say a delivery driver was rattled when he stepped up to the porch of a Dawson County farm. NTV's Colleen Williams shows us the slithering surprise.
It's the door Christy's children use every day.
Bye.
Watch close. Minutes after 12-year-old Kyler leaves, a rattlesnake arrives.
It's very scary. My daughter had just walked out that same door 20 minutes before that.
The prairie rattlesnake slithers up the step, all 36 inches in full view of the Ring camera. And then it curls up in the corner. A timestamp shows just 2 minutes later, delivery man Matt pulled into the driveway.
Took it up to the front door and I sat it down.
For Matt, this delivery was just like any other. Until...
Oh. And then I'm like, and there he was.
Knowing a family lived inside, Matt decided to take action.
I knew they had a garage there, and I figured they probably had some tools I can go grab.
I'm so thankful you didn't just leave it there. Because my thoughts now are, what if you would have said, hey, by the way, I saw a rattlesnake on your front step, and I left it there. It was just, over there in the corner. I don't know if I would be able to exit my front door. As it is now, I can tell myself that that was the only rattlesnake there.
Once Matt took care of the snake, he even cleaned up the mess. and disposed of the body.
I had some garbage bags in the truck, and I just like, I'll throw him in there, and then I'll decide what to do with him later.
Matt left a note, or in this case, a text for the homeowner.
It said, I hope you didn't have a pet rattlesnake at your front door because I killed him. Matt. Sorry about the blood.
It's a story that's quickly gone viral, with Matt the delivery man being hailed a hero. There are people that want to nominate you for Delivery Man of the Year. You need a raise. Not all heroes wear capes. What is your reaction to you being hailed a hero? Deservingly so.
I was just kind of put in a position where I had to do something.
Thank you, Matt, very much. We're very, very thankful that you took care of business here. Great customer service.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
Later, let your hair down with a farm kid celebrated for his luscious locks. Up next, we meet Miss Rodeo, Nebraska.
This portion of NTV's Grow is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
The Oregon Trail Rodeo is set to kick off tonight in Hastings. Here to talk more about that is Miss Rodeo, Nebraska, Rebel Saklocha. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And there are so many things to be involved with the rodeo, but what would you say is your favorite thing about it, or what do you most enjoy about the rodeo?
Well, what's unique about my role is I really get to help people connect the dots and educate them about the different rodeo events and where they come from. So the coolest part about my job is I get to help people make the connection from rodeo to our ranching heritage and agricultural roots. So not only are fans able to get a front row seat to exciting action in the rodeo arena, but they're also able to kind of learn the meaning and the roots of those events as well.
And that's huge in Nebraska agriculture, so I'm sure it's rewarding to see people enjoying out and seeing the fun, but also knowing the roots.
Certainly. You know, here in Nebraska, we're awfully proud of our agricultural industry, and for good reason. And so not only has it been great to visit with fans within our state, but I've also traveled almost 35,000 miles across the country and to Canada. So I'd like to think that the beef state has gotten some representation as well.
And you are actually preparing for a run for the Miss Rodeo America title coming up in December in Las Vegas. So what are you doing to prepare for that? That's huge.
Oh, goodness. Well, the Miss Rodeo America pageant is an 8-day-long competition held in conjunction with the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. So from now until December, it's really a lot of studying, getting on as many horses as I can, and engaging in a series of mock interviews to really hone in on those skills. But really the best preparation for the Miss Rodeo America pageant has been getting to travel and meet all the people and ride all the horses that I have so far. It's going to be an exciting few months preparing, but I couldn't be more excited.
Our Grow Weather Outlook is next.
NTV's Grow Weather is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
This week's drought monitor was released early this week on Thursday morning, still indicating very dry conditions across the Central Plains. Let's get a closer look here at the state of Kansas, where actually some nice improvements were made due to some recent rainfall that we had. In Kansas, the no drought category now at 16 1/3%, abnormally dry, about 83 2/3%. Both of those 3% improvements from last week's report. Moderate drought now sitting at 65 3/4%, about a 4% improvement from last week. Always good to see those improvements. Of course, severe drought now at about 42%, also a 3% improvement from last week as well. Extreme drought, roughly 18 1/3%. Here's our best improvement of the week, 11.5% improvement from last week's report. And exceptional drought now at about 1.3%, which is roughly a 2% improvement from last week. Still some very dry areas in parts of southeast Kansas there. Otherwise, looking ahead to Nebraska, not a whole lot was changed from the last week. Maybe some slight improvements in these first couple of categories. No drought now at about 29.5%, abnormally dry 70.5%. Both of those roughly 2.5% increases or improvements from last week's report. Moderate drought now at about 52.25%, which is roughly a 1% improvement from last week as well. Severe drought still about the same, 29.25% there. Extreme drought 14.5%. Exceptional drought still at 1.31%. So those last couple of categories, not a whole lot of improvement there, if any at all. Which we don't want to see. Still very dry conditions, but looking ahead now to September temperatures. The state of Nebraska and Kansas expecting above average temperatures for the month of September. Maybe a better chance there in parts of southwest Kansas. And looking ahead to the September precipitation outlook, parts of far eastern Nebraska maybe expecting some drier conditions expected for precipitation in September. Otherwise, pretty equal chances anywhere else you look in Nebraska and Kansas. In the next 3 months, September, October, and November, those temperature outlooks have also been released. Parts of the Panhandle, southwestern parts of the Panhandle there, the southwest part of Nebraska as well, and then parts of southwest Kansas also expecting above average temperatures for the next 3 months. And looking ahead to precipitation, more of the same of those average precipitation chances over Nebraska and Kansas. Always nice to see that rather than dry conditions, especially with the ongoing drought. But speaking of that drought, probably not going to get much improvement for next week as it is looking very hot, very dry as well, starting the week off 102 on Monday, sticking around in the upper 90s and low hundreds really the rest of the week until could see a bit of a front come through on Friday. Temperatures back down into the upper 80s, at least right now, still a ways out. Even some precipitation chances may enter the mix yet again for our Friday. Otherwise, the Grow Almanac for the week ahead. Normal high sitting roughly at 85, normal low at 62. Looking much warmer the week ahead, of course, with those hundreds in the forecast. Average highs of around 97 for the week ahead, and then the average low right around 71. So above average temperatures expected this week. And your Grove proverb for this week anyway: if the 24th of August be fair or clear, then hope for a prosperous autumn that year. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It's clear and fair on the 24th at this hour right now, but have to see if that will transfer to a prosperous autumn for the fall. That is a check of your Grow Report for the weather forecast this week. Be sure to stay tuned next week when it will once again be time to grow.
We sure appreciate seeing your photos, especially if you've got some FFA kids maybe beginning the new year or some kids wrapping up county fair season. Send them to us at nebraska.tv/chime in. Up next, a small town kid celebrated for his big hair.
Ag Youth of the Month is sponsored by Landmark Implement. Experience the Landmark difference with locations across Nebraska and northern Kansas.
A small town boy is on a big stage with the hair to match. NTV's Lauren Bentley introduces us to the Mullet Kid.
The signature duo of business in the front and party in the back was first a prank that Amanda Ellis played on her husband.
For a while, just to see how long it would take TJ to notice. And after a while, he finally realized that Dalton had a mullet and Dalton refused to cut it.
And she quickly found out that her son's hairstyle fit his personality perfectly.
There's no one else like him, for sure. He marches to the beat of his own drum.
With his confidence in the look, she signed him up for a nationwide competition, the USA Mullet Championship.
Last year, we were tagged in a Facebook post, and a few people were saying, hey, you should enter this competition. And it was already going on, so we couldn't at that point. But then when it came around this year, I asked him if he wanted to, and we figured why not.
The competition features adults and kids from across the nation, and Dalton, from the small village of Eddyville, made it to the top 25.
To us, I don't think anybody probably even knew where Eddyville was before this week. But we're very proud to be representing Nebraska in this, and we're super thankful for everybody who came together and voted for him.
And as Dalton waits for the results to roll in, he says he's
Very excited
to hopefully bring home first place. Showing you something good, I'm Lauren Bentley.
Before we close, catch us each and every day of the Nebraska State Fair right here on the grounds at Fauner Park. And mark your calendars, August 31st at 12:30. Catch us live at Raising Nebraska in person or online as we visit with the state ag director, some farm kids, and others to discuss the future of agriculture in a town hall forum. We'll see you then, and we'll see you next time as we see how agriculture makes Nebraska grow.
NTV's Grow is brought to you by Aurora Cooperative. Tougher together, Aurora and you.